Hey witches, how you doing today? We're back with another video, another vlog actually. This is the third vlog we've done, and yeah, the day's gonna be, well, like my other couple vlogs, but maybe a little different, because I don't really have anything witchy planned for today, right? I don't have any big, I'm not making a fetch bottle or doing a ritual or something that I can take you along on. And so I guess today is sort of going to be a little bit of a discussion about how to blend that sort of mundane and witchy stuff and how I kind of blend it together and live my life as a witch. So we'll get into it. But first, for those of you who are new around here, my name is Teo. Welcome to the channel where we talk about all things witchcraft. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. I appreciate the support. And all of you, please consider subscribing. It's a really great way to help us build the channel. I think I've screwed up that intro on like the last 4 videos I've done. Oh my goodness. All right, so today, I guess, I kind of want to do a deeper, like, actual, like, thought piece video on this, but the idea that I think a lot of times we kind of struggle because we're like, I have to do all this mundane stuff, right? I've got to, like, go to work, make dinner, clean the house, do all these things that aren't witchy. They're just mundane things I have to do. And I have to kind of do those in order to get them out of the way so that I can then spend time on my witchy stuff. And it feels like this push-pull between the mundane and the magical spaces all the time. And I listened to a really interesting podcast the other day, and they were talking a little bit in it about how, about how we are witches in the world. Right? If you identify as a witch, you are a witch all the time. Everything you do is connected to your witchcraft, right? It's just whether you see it or not. And so I guess I thought today what I wanted to do was sort of spend some time seeing how I am a witch, doing maybe some of my mundane things, but how I'm still a witch when I'm doing those things. So, I'm going to take you guys along for the ride today. Pardon the hair, I just literally got out of the shower and I thought, let's start this video. I've gotten out of the shower, I've done my makeup, and I just need to go blow dry my hair. And then I thought to get started, it is a little bit witchier, but maybe we'll go downstairs and I'll walk you through some of the books that I'm reading lately. All the books I'm reading this month, and some for school, some for not, and just, we'll catch up on that and we'll go from there. All right, we'll see you back in a couple of seconds here. All right, hair's done. We're back in the living room. Just hanging out. You can't see her, but Luna's like right beside me on the couch because she's never far away. And I said we would kind of maybe take a look at what am I reading this month? What am I working with this month? I have been sort of, I don't want to say I've had a slump in my practice, but I've definitely been feeling a little bit disconnected. And I realized that part of the reason is I haven't been reading, which sounds kind of silly, but I'm always sort of reading something, researching something, right? I've got something on the go that interests me in the witchcraft sphere. So this month, I've really made a concerted effort to take a look at some books, to really start working with stuff again. So the first one, and you've seen this many, many, many times ago again, is 366 Celt, A Year and a Day of Celtic Wisdom and Lore by Carl McColman. So this is one that I actually have been journaling from every day. Like it's just basically there's 366 entries, 1 a page. So you do 1 a day. You can start at any time in the year. It's just numbered 1 to 366. It's not dependent on season. And in April, I did not do any of it. And I'm not really sure why. I actually haven't really started May yet, but my intention is that this week I will get started on all my May entries. Typically I don't do 1 every single day. I mean, that would be ideal. Oops, excuse me, but I don't always have time. So I tend to sit down sort of once or twice a week and just do a chunk of them. And I didn't really think about it in April, but I think that's part of where my practice maybe got a little bit affected, right? Was I wasn't doing my entries. So I'm making an effort to get back to doing my 366 Celt journaling. I'm almost done. I think I'm on day 260 something, 250 something out of 366. So I'm really close to being done, maybe a couple more months. And that will be an accomplishment. It'll be a milestone in my practice. So I need to get back to that. So that is the first one. Now for my guild, I do run a book club. So earlier in the month, I read Traditional Witchcraft for Urban Living by Melusine Draco. If you've read this book, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of it. I thought it was kind of hot garbage. I hate to say that. I love books. I can always find redeeming qualities, and there are some very good redeeming qualities in this book. They are few and far between, but they are there. If you'd like a book review on Traditional Witchcraft for Urban Living, leave a comment. Let me know. If a couple people want it, I will definitely do it. I don't like to do book reviews that sort of trash a book. And I mean, it wouldn't be to trash the book, so to speak, but to point out some glaringly problematic content. Yeah, so it was an interesting read. It really made me think about critical reading, right? And that we can't always, just because it's in print, just be like, oh yeah, of course, just take that for fact. Sometimes we have to use our critical thinking skills, and this book definitely required some critical thinking skills. So yeah, if you want to hear more about that, leave me a comment. I would love to do a video on that one. Now, for school, for my Red Thread Academy, I am doing my last of 4 book reviews on Natural Magic by Doreen Valiente. I am not quite halfway through it. It's interesting. It's kind of a very basic, like, beginner's sort of book. Like right now I'm reading about the magic of colors, and the chapter before was the magic of numbers. So it's a little bit about, pretty basic stuff. Like, here's how you, work with numerology. Here's color correspondences and how you work with them. So some of it's kind of basic, but there is some very interesting, there's some very interesting topics in here that she sort of bridges, but maybe doesn't go into great detail. So one thing I've learned from doing these book reports for my school is you have to write the book report, and basically what you need to do is address a few things about the book, like how accessible was it, all that sort of stuff. But then you have to talk about, I think it's 4 things that the book made you want to learn more about, and 3 or 4 things that it clarified for you. And I find that as I'm reading now, I'm kind of tending to start to think in that pattern of, okay, let's look for topics that I want to know more about. Not that I'm necessarily going to go and research them right now, but to add to the list of things that, oh yeah, that was interesting. That piqued my interest. I'll add it to the list. And next time I'm, looking for something to read about, or I'm I don't know, feeling a lull in my practice, right, those are some topics that I could go and research a little bit further, as well as things that it sort of clarified for you. So I think those are kind of good things to keep in mind as you're reading. So yeah, that's Natural Magic by Doreen Valiente. And I think even the most basic of books, there's always something to learn. There's always something to take away. Sometimes you have to look for it, but there's always something. Now, I'd also like to say I'm really enjoying Doreen Valiente. I've never read her work before, which I know, gasp, shock, you're a witch and you haven't read Doreen Valiente, but I haven't. And this, I have to say, one of the things I'd like to know more about is I'd like to read more of Doreen Valiente's work. It definitely made me go, yeah, I do need to do that. The next book I am reading is The Black Book of Isabel Gowdy and Other Scottish Spells and Charms by Ash William Mills. Awesome book. I'm so excited. I got this book last fall, and I sat down to read it, and I don't know, I couldn't get into it. I kind of started, and I'm really excited, and I kind of started it, and I just never really got into it. And I'm kind of kicking myself now because it is such a good book. The Black Book of Isabel Gowdy and Other Scottish Spells and Charms by Ash William Mills. It is available on Amazon or through his Etsy shop. And wealth, treasure trove of information. I've added pages to my Book of Shadows just from this one here, or my grimoire, I guess, or my black book, as I'm now going to call it. I'm laughing. I just did a class. I taught a class on witchcraft records and how to keep them. So about the grimoire tradition and what kind of stuff do you want to record? Why do you want to do it? Blah, 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 blah. This book I should have read before because he talks about the history of the Black Book. So we talked about grimoires and books of shadows, but he actually talks about the tradition of the Black Book, which would have been a great addition to that course. So I'll have to update it. But yeah, I'm getting a lot out of this, and this is feeling very inspirational. It's got me wanting to write stuff in my grimoire. It's got me wanting to copy down these spells and charms, things that I'm finding interesting, just good information that I'm like, oh, I need to capture that, I need to capture that, which is the feeling I like to have when I read a book, right? Like, oh, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And then, so those are all books that I have read or I'm currently reading. And the last book is Anatomy of a Witch by Tempa Sakroff. I have not read this yet. I kind of started it. I got a little ways in, like back in the fall when I first bought this book. And again, this is for book club. So the book club for my guild members, part of their guild membership is they get free book clubs. And so for the month of May, we are reading Anatomy of a Witch. And basically right now we're just picking books and we meet once at the end of the month and we all sort of get like a big meeting for an hour to 2 hours where we just discuss the book and what we took from it and what we liked about it and what maybe we didn't like and etc., etc. The one when we did Traditional Witchcraft for Urban Living, you guys to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, let me tell you. Anatomy of Witch is going to be better. I mean, Tempa Sakroff is a phenomenal author. I love anything that she's ever put out, so I'm sure this will be a fantastic book, but I am looking forward to sort of talking with everybody and finding out what they took away from it. So this is one that I have yet to read. I need to get started on that soon, but I do want to finish Doreen Valiente first. It's not a difficult read, that one, so a couple more days and I should be done, and then I'll be starting on Anatomy of a Witch. So that is one way that I've sort of worked witchcraft back into my everyday, is through reading. Just learning a little bit every single day. I think that's kind of important. And the other way that I really work witchcraft into my everyday is getting outside and getting out into nature. So we need to take the dog for a walk, and that is sort of something that I strive to do every day. As long as it's not colder than minus 24 Celsius, I try to take the dog out. That's the temperature at which it's just too cold for their paws for them to be outside. Unless you want to put them in like jackets and booties and do all that up. For the most part, I tend to just say, nope, it's too cold for the dog, it's too cold for me. But it's definitely not cold here now. It is probably about 6 to 8 degrees out. So, right, it's a decent day to take the dog out and spend some time outdoors. And so maybe I'll be back. We'll talk a little bit about the witchy things that I do when I'm walking the dog, okay? We've got that to do, and I thought we'll go take a look at my yard, because typically when I come back from a walk, we go outside. I tend to sort of wind down after the walk in my yard, so maybe I thought I'll give you a tour of my yard and of all the things that are out there that I've, got growing and budding and are just starting, because up here in Canada we're having a very late spring, so things are just starting to sort of get budding and get growing now. I have plants like my lilies and stuff that aren't even up yet, but and yeah, we'll just take a look at it and we'll hang out a bit in my yard and I'll show you that, and then we'll see what else we've got to do for the day. All right, so yeah, we'll see you shortly. So here we are out at a local lake that we walk by every day on our walks, me and Luna. And like I said, let's just go over some things that I do when I'm out doing this daily walk that make it witchy, if you will, right? Because again, I am a witch doing mundane things. I'm always a witch. I identify as a witch and I am always a witch. So what am I doing while I'm out walking the dog? Part of it is just practicing mindfulness, right? Like as I'm walking, that's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about all the other things I have to do that day. I'm not ruminating over some past discussions. I'm literally working on being there in the moment. A really good way to accomplish that is to sit and think about, I like to do it through sound. I'm very like auditory focused. So for me, it's like, what can I hear? So I'm sitting here and it's like, I can hear a plane. I can hear the birds chirping. There was just a goose honking. I can hear the dog. I can hear her paws going through the grass. I can also hear her leash being pulled. I can hear a car going by. Right? And if I focus on my immediate sensory input, part is like, what can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? What can you taste? All your senses. I tend to just use my hearing. That tends to really pull me into the moment. So a lot of what I listen for is nature sounds. So I try not to think about the cars or the planes or stuff like that. Or if I do, often I'll hear like a far off hum. There's like a ring road that goes around the city, and you can almost hear a hum that comes off of it because we're very close to the edge of the city out here. Hello, geese. Right? I tend to think of that as like, it's almost like the voice of the genius loci, which I know sounds silly, right? Cars aren't nature, but it's the hum of the city. The other thing I like to do is I like to look for stuff, especially witchy stuff, right? So a big one is looking for plants, right? Different like weeds and stuff like that. It's a little early in the year. There's not a lot blossoming right now. I check the trees to see if they're budding. And just walking into this area today, there's like a grassy space we had to walk through. I found some lovely specimens. So this is a goose feather. It's actually missing its quill at the bottom, but it's like a lovely little specimen. And another one here, which is like it's a duck feather. You can tell from the different things here. So looking for that kind of stuff. Hello. Looking for that kind of stuff while you're out walking around, right? It helps keep you focused in the moment. And you can find some cool things that you can take home, that you can maybe use in your witchy practice. So that is sort of what I like to do when I'm walking. So again, I'm a witch taking a walk. It's not a mundane chore that I have to do. I turn it into like a witchy activity. So I hope that kind of helps. I have another really cool spot I want to share with you guys. So we'll be back with that in a second. Okay, so it's so much warmer today than I thought it was. I said it was maybe 6 to 8 degrees. It's actually 13 degrees, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a very calm. There's lots of clouds in the sky, but there's quite sunny and it's very, very warm. So love Edmonton weather. It's kind of all over the place. This is the next place I wanted to show you. You can see behind me there's a big hill. I was actually going to sit on top of the hill, but there's a dude up there relaxing, which whatever, but he's got a dog with him and I've got Luna, and I was like, no, don't want to deal with the two dogs. That's not gonna go well. So the reason I wanted to point this out to you is right on the other side of that hill, like facing forward from me, it's all just like green like soccer fields, but behind, just right on the other side of that hill, there's a basketball court and a kids park. So it looks like I'm in this like, you know, lonely green space, but it's really not. This is like a big like family park in the middle of my suburb. And but I love this hill because it is the highest point in my neighborhood. And sometimes if you look out for things like that, you know, it's a great place to go and sit and watch if there's like a solar or lunar eclipse. If you want to check out the full moon, you just get up to like, you know, it's not a huge hill, but it's just enough. It's where the kids all go sledding in the winter and stuff, but it's just enough to be able to sort of see everywhere around and kind of get up to, you know, more level with like the tops of the houses so you can kind of see over them and into the sky. So look for places like that, right, in your neighborhood. You never know what you've got. Sometimes it's like hidden in plain sight, you know, like I wouldn't consider it a witchy space because it's literally beside a children's park. Like there's tons of people there during the day, even into the evening. I mean, my son lives at the park, but right, if you come in the evening or in the nighttime, it's beautiful. First thing in the morning, it's quiet, there's nobody around, and you can kind of check out all the astral goings on, if you will. And I was going to say, the other thing is I was talking about, mindfulness when you're out walking and, making it witchy. Sometimes, right, you're not in the mood for that. The other thing I like to do is put on a good podcast. So I've spent a lot of time over the last year, right, surfing through podcasts and trying to find good witchy ones. So there's always something to listen to. So if I'm really not in the mood, I can get myself in the mood, right? Let's listen to a witchy podcast and get something going on that way. So this is we're close to the end of our walk. I'm just going to grab the mail and go home, and then we'll go show you guys around my backyard. And again, it's like a yard. Everybody has a yard, but I'll show you sort of some of the things that I put in my yard that make me feel a little bit witchier when I'm doing those, mundane yard chores. All right. So this is the backyard. If you start over here, you can see we've got some hydrangeas. They are actually just starting to bud. And the rest of this is mostly just planted material. Just decorative, whatever. Some trees. And then we go into this side of the backyard. And this is, we're actually taking this out this year. It's an old PlayStation of my kids. I don't know what to put in there. Maybe a seating area. I'm trying to convince my husband we should get a hot tub. Who knows? Now this is kind of funny, 2 years ago, I started a poison garden right here. You can see the rock, and I had 3 poison plants around it. They have all died except for one, which isn't really a poison plant. It is a form of mugwort, but not the kind that you use in magic. So I think the poison path is not mine. And then we just go along the back. I've got lots of berries back here. We've just planted 2 new cranberry bushes. High bush cranberry. And we'll walk down this way. There's some trees. We walk down this way. Over here, these bushes here are Saskatoon berries, and they come in lush every year. It's totally crazy. So I use those in a lot of concoctions. I make, what would you call them? Cordials? They're like syrupy alcoholic drinks. Got an apple tree, and I have got a Nanking cherry. This used to be all beautifully planted, but my dog has used it as her dog run and ruined it all. This is our outdoor fire pit area, which is actually also a really nice ritual area. I don't know that it's big enough for group work, but it is really nice when I'm working on my own, especially with the fire pit. I don't do it often, but sometimes I'll use that space for that. And then if you come around, we have our other side yard. The reason I don't use it a lot is I don't know if you can see it, but right there is a street light, and that street light shines right into the backyard. So obviously this is where the dog does her business, so the grass is all destroyed. But over here is where I have some more fun. So this is where my lilies are. They have not come up yet. That is one of the things. I keep an almanac of when all the different things are budding and leafing and what's going on in my yard every year, so I can compare it year to year. So that's kind of fun. This is where I do my composting. Now the city has put in a composting program, so I don't use it. I haven't used it in the last year, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure what the fate of that will be, but that is my compost. You can see there's, these are actually strawberries, but there's a bunch of crabgrass growing in that needs to get taken out. I have to weed this every year because this side yard is predominantly crabgrass. It does grow under the paving stones and into the garden. But one of the things that I like to use it for is I save the roots and dry them, and I will use crabgrass roots if I have some spell work of something that I want to keep particularly, that I want to be particularly sticky and hard to get rid of, and very obstinate, and think of all the properties of crabgrass that I want to apply to that spell. So not so much the greens, but I will use the roots for that. See, there's a little strawberry plant there. There's a little one there. There's a bigger one over here. So don't mind the garbage. We also live in a wind tunnel, and I haven't been out to clean it up yet. Got my rhubarb, some parsley. I was growing some herbs in here last year, and the parsley reseeded itself, which is kind of exciting, not gonna lie. You can see there's some thistles that I'm gonna have to get rid of. Again, I saved the roots. I also saved the leaves, but they're great for spell work. And this is where I usually plant, last year was carrots and peas. I don't know what I'm gonna do this year. So we shall see. But this is sort of a quick overview of my yard. The thing I'm waiting for right now is over here. There is a bush that is very late to come up, and over there where the lilies are going to come up. Those are late bloomers in my yard, if you will. So that's just a little preview of my yard. You can see those stones. I've used those stones up there in Magic Workings. I'll bring them down and sort of almost like continue this stone wall around this paved area. But yeah, that's kind of my little bit about my backyard oasis, which is not very oasis-like right now, but will be soon. All right, you witches, I am on to the last part of my day. I need to grab some groceries. I'm at the grocery store, and then I'm going to pick up the kid, and the evening of family duties resumes. But I think when I go to buy groceries today, I am going to remember that I am a witch buying groceries. I am not just some mundane everyday person at the grocery store, you know, running the errands. I'm a witch. I'm a witch and I'm grocery shopping, and already that makes me feel better about having to do this. I hate going to the grocery store. I hate running errands. It's just always like, oh, there's so many hundred things I'd rather do. But when I think about it as I'm a witch doing these things, it somehow makes it a little bit more palatable. So hopefully that's some good tips for you all. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It was fun. And yeah, in the efforts to not make this too long, that is the day. Thanks for hanging out. And that's our video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.